Hey everybody, welcome to the second in our series of our Small Business Spotlight during the month of April. Today we have Chris Franklin with us, who's the VP of Operations for Leevers Locavore, which is our local grocery store at 38th and Bryant. A lot of you know about the store already. I've put out a lot of information about them since they opened. But we just kind of wanted to circle back with Chris and see how Leevers is doing during this time of coronavirus and all the disruptions we're having. So Chris, welcome. Thanks again for your time today. And we'd just love to hear a little bit from you for those people who don't know about Leevers. Would you just tell us a little bit about the store?
Well, sure. Thanks, first of all, for having me out here. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, our mission or our concept has changed a little bit since all of this has started. Originally, we were
Okay.
built around the idea of having a grocery store focused on local, natural, and organic foods.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we wanted to do to differentiate ourselves was bring in kind of some of the best elements of a food hall right into the grocery store. So for instance, we had that coffee bar where you could,
Yep.
come in, get a latte, beer and wine. You could walk around the store, sip and shop. Really have that kind of unique shopping experience. And then we also brought in 3 restaurants into the space too. So we have Basil Doc's Pizza, 123 Sushi, Culture Meat and Cheese, and then still having all the basic components of a neighborhood grocery store.
Okay. Awesome.
So over the last few weeks, obviously, we're all experiencing those changes that are happening, and so we've had to change a little bit here as well too. So that concept of being the community hub, we still want to
Mm-hmm.
be there from a grocery perspective, but obviously we've taken out a lot of the seating and a lot of the community space that we had dedicated for the neighborhood there as well. So we're kind of shifting
Right.
on I say on an hourly, daily, weekly basis right now.
Okay. Yeah, I miss the spicy chives. Love the spicy chives that you guys have. So in addition to those shifts, is there anything else that you've had to change or kind of any, has this disruption caused you to think more long term as far as the changes that you're making now? Are they going to stay in place, or are you kind of hoping to go back to that community hub operation after this is over?
Sure, I think that the community hub, that's part of our mission statement. And so the
Hmm.
goal is to get back to that as soon as is sort of safely possible. So it's in the long-term plan. We want to be able to adapt to that as quickly as possible. But
Okay.
obviously, these are unprecedented times, and we don't want to be kind of too far ahead of the curve on that. So while that's part of the vision, it's something that we'll have to really wait and see and probably bring back in phases, I would imagine. So it might
Okay.
begin with just the ability to sip and shop. Obviously, you can still get carry out at the restaurants. Maybe you layer back in some seating as that becomes appropriate.
Sure.
We used to rent out to groups of 30 to 40 people so they could have their meetings. When I say rent out, it was complimentary, but we'd have that space available. I don't think we're quite to that point yet or anytime in the near
Sure.
future.
Okay. Um, Another question that I had, just curious to hear from you. We've heard a lot in the news about our grocery store workers kind of being on the front line as they're interacting with so many people during the day. Can you talk a little bit about how Leevers is kind of putting protections in place for your workers and how you guys are kind of, working to lighten the load, so to speak, for them, incorporate anything fun for them, or just, how are you helping them get through the day?
Yeah, absolutely. None of us were fully prepared for what was going to happen, and it happened quickly. So that's something that's been evolving. But one of
Okay.
the first things that we believed is that we have to take care of the employees here first, because if our health isn't in place, then obviously there's nobody here to stock the groceries, and then we can't be here for the community. So we sort of ranked our priorities here. Started with the employees first, obviously our customers, a very, very close second on that. But once again, you can't have one without the other. So one of the first things that when we realized the seriousness of this is that we wanted to take the opposite approach that a lot of other grocery chains have. What they did is they shrunk their hours because it
Mm-hmm.
was so busy. So they sort of
Right.
took that extra business they were having and shrunk it down into a smaller window of time. And as I was researching, and I don't pretend to be an expert, but I do know food and beverage, and I do know basic sanitation. And we thought the opposite approach fit in line with what was going on and what we were being recommended to do. So what we did is we kept basically our same operating hours of 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. and just segmented it
Okay.
a little bit. So 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. now is for the immunocompromised and shoppers over
Mhm.
60.
Okay.
8 to 2 is kind of our traditional shopping time. And then the big change that we did is we close every day from 2 o'clock until 3 o'clock. And that's
Okay.
not the only time that we clean and sanitize, but that's our
Mhm.
chance to go back and really touch every surface,
Sure.
to give our team a break as well. So we might have 20 people working at any point, break the entire store up into smaller groups. We clean, we sanitize, we take a quick break, we have a meeting, and then regroup and reopen, usually around 10 minutes to 3 every day. That's been the
Okay.
biggest change. So we do also
Okay.
have some of those other recommendations, the plexiglass screens.
Mhm.
We've been trying to layer in masks where we can. They're almost impossible to find, so that's been a real
Yeah.
challenge. But just between yesterday and today, we had another 60 masks delivered. So I had mine on until this, and I'll get it
Okay.
back on as soon as I'm done. So,
Sure.
and then just, yeah, I think generally just trying to keep the atmosphere a little bit more calm. It's that, you want to have a healthy respect for what's happening,
Mhm.
but without the frantic nature. And so I think our teams really, really stepped up to that. They know we're taking it seriously, but
Mhm.
we've also, tried to keep the atmosphere light without being tone deaf on everything going on. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
That's awesome. How has the
yeah,
store traffic been? Have you guys stayed fairly consistent through this? Or are you seeing some fluctuations in that?
we've definitely been busier during this time,
Okay.
and yeah, so that's been a positive. It's not the way that you necessarily want to have your sales increase, but
Right.
either way, this had happened. And so right away we were able to, because we're small, kind of shift gears, and instead of going through those wholesale distributors, we reached out to a lot of the local suppliers to say, what can you do to get food in right when everything was at its worst. And so I think that we kept a better stock level generally.
Mhm.
I think
Okay.
that because we were small and independent, we were able to go through and kind of talk to different people and reach out to the restaurant suppliers. We knew that there'd be food through those
Mhm.
channels once they shut the restaurants down that was going to go to waste. And so we reached out that way too to try to keep a steady supply. And so I think that customers felt that we were better stocked, generally speaking,
Mhm.
and kind of a little bit less frantic environment as well. So.
Yeah, yeah, fabulous. So, would be curious to hear from you. Is there any plea or any message you want to get out to the community how we can continue to support the workers there and support what you guys are doing over at Leevers? Is there anything specific that the community can help with?
Well, right now, I will say this. You hear all the terrible stories in the news about people hoarding and some of the sort of
Yeah,
bad behavior that's happening out there. And I am very happy to say that it's been quite the opposite here, that
good.
most customers have been very, very respectful of everything going on. And we've seen that in a lot of different ways, people being patient and kind. We never put a limit on toilet paper. We just asked people to
Okay.
be kind of respectful about it and take what you need. And we didn't have a single person take advantage of that. And so in that sense, I think it's just a matter of sort of keeping calm and recognizing the fact that it's stressful for everybody, customers
Mhm.
and team members alike. Everyone's been doing a great job with that. So we've been really, really appreciative of that. I think moving forward, I think just knowing that we've been trying to do our best here, and
Mhm.
that you can find little moments. It's hard in a 8 or 10 or 12 hour shift to do everything perfectly,
Yeah,
especially when you're trying to undo behavior. And so I spend a lot of my time kind of addressing those concerns that come up. But I think overall we've tried to be a leader on cleaning and sanitation. And so if you see that one thing that wasn't perfect, or just to kind of be patient with that, it's okay to point it out, and we want to do our best, but know that we're really trying. Then the
yeah.
other thing is the other specific thing that I think would be helpful is just to leave the reusable bags at home. I know it's counterintuitive to
Oh,
everything we've been
interesting.
trying to do for years with to save the environment, but in this case there's a lot of concerns about those having potentially having some bacteria or other contaminants that you don't want to bring in the store. So we're allowing people to bring them in if they already have them in. We're not trying to correct anybody, but we're just trying to avoid having us touch the bags if that's the case. So that'd
Sure,
be the one
sure.
thing.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. Well, thanks again for joining us today. I know you're a very busy man. I appreciate you taking the time out for us. Any kind of final words to the community, anything that Leevers would like to just say to the neighbors who are shopping there on a daily basis?
Well, I just wanted to, number one, thank them all for coming out, and Number two, I hope that we all have a realization of how important it is to support local business during this time. And
Mhm.
I think that we've seen that it's been the smaller the vendor, the more local the producer, kind of the better luck we've had keeping their products in stock on the shelves. And so in a way, the world's gotten much smaller. And I think we even see that here in the neighborhood too. So I just think, going forward, keep in mind where you're purchasing your food from, and kind of being, if you can, if you have the flexibility to be really conscientious with those dollars that you're spending, and even
Mhm.
supporting the restaurants when they come back. So
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that was kind of my impetus to start this small business spotlight, because I'm hearing from so many of my small business friends and owners, that they're really struggling. And so, yeah, I think that's a great plea, just reminding folks, shop small. And I hope that is something that becomes just the norm for us after this, just remembering our small businesses. That's really what makes our neighborhoods unique,
mhm.
is our mom and pop shops and our smaller stores. So for everyone out there, again, Leevers Locavore is located at 38th and Bryant in the Potter Highlands neighborhood. I'll have some information posted after this to their website and all their Facebook page and all of that information. So again, Chris, thank you so much for being here today, and wishing you guys the best of luck.
Thank you, appreciate it, Amy.